welcome to our virtual attendees. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be attending from. My name is Mark Buffington. I'm a consulting engineer here at Jamf, based in Minneapolis, and happy to welcome you all to the session. Hello, my name is iPad. Excellent presenters here today. My colleague Chris Ball and great customer and person I've been able to work with as a Jamf as well, Walter Dobbins Jr. as well. And with that, I'm just going to hand it to them because they've got good stories. Welcome, guys. And Q&A, I know we've all been saying it before. Please, in the app, Q&A, I'll come up at the end and be able to ask those questions. Totally forgot that. Carry on.
Thank you, Mark.
Should I fall in now or later?
No, trip later.
Okay, trip later.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome. This is session 1129. Hello, my name is iPad. As Mark said, my name is Chris, joined by Walter Dobbins Jr. And I am a native Texan, and I know it's day 2 of the conference, but I have a couple of tips and tricks for you to beat the heat. Shorts, number 1. Short hair, number 2. If you can do both of those, you're golden. If you didn't bring shorts, just cut your hair. So this is us. Walter and I have actually been working together on a few projects that Cincinnati Children has had for about 3 years now. We continue to grow together. We've learned a lot from each other. So really hope that you can maybe learn a little bit of how we approach such a common step as naming an iPad, something that we might take for granted. The agenda for this session, this is kind of a repeat session from last year, so we will give you a brief recap of what we presented on in JNUC 2022. We're going to get an update from Walter on what they're doing at Cincinnati Children's and how they've expanded. We're also going to talk at length about device names, why they're important, and then at the end we'll show you how we can actually get them named in a way that requires less effort for you down the road. So last year's session, if you didn't check it out, it is posted online and available. It's a session that's broadly about automation.
They won't see me fall, right? Or trip, right?
No.
Okay.
The recorded version didn't have Walter tripping. He did fall on stage last year. It was awesome. He is okay. He made it this year. And not too embarrassed to come back. But the theme last year was on automation, and it's about automation at work. And we made a parallel of a very, common automation that we might be familiar with in our daily lives, Apple's HomeKit. Because a lot of the same methodologies that you take for automation at home can be applied for automation at work. So encourage you to check it out after the session, not while we're going right now. And with that.
Thanks, Chris. So Cincinnati Children's is where I work. I've been there for about almost 16 years. I'll be 16 years here in November. But I just want to give you kind of just a recap of what we're doing at Cincinnati Children's from our expansion and growth. So that's Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and as I spoke of last year, we built a new building. It's about a little over a year old now. It'll be 2 years this coming November, where we house all of our critical care patients, like CICU, NICU, areas like that. Complex airway is stored in this building, and also our emergency department is in this building. So every time I do a presentation, I always want to show off this building because I think it's beautiful. And in this building, what we did also, and we talked about it last year in our presentation, we have implemented an iPad and an Apple TV in every room. And that's controlled with the iPad that's in the room to control the content on the Apple TV. And we kind of went a little further. I think a lot of people use the Apple TV for screen mirroring from the iPad to the Apple TV. We went further to kind of allow the Apple TV to be its own device. Bring your own content. We wanted to make sure that when our patients and families come to our facility, that it's like they're at home. So if they want to binge watch what they were watching on Netflix or Hulu or HBO Max or whatnot, it's there and readily available for them. So we've been able over this recent year to expand our interactive patient care experience, that's what we call it, to our emergency department. While we're using Healthcare Listener in our inpatient setting, which I just spoke about wiping the iPad and Apple TV, we use a quicker workflow called app refresh in our ED. We wanted to make sure that in the ED setting, having an iPad in there, we can't have that iPad re-provisioned every time and having to go through those provisioning steps. And so Jamf, being a great partner with Healthcare Listener, came out with App Refresh. At first, I didn't think there was no need for it. Then all of a sudden, this project came about, and immediately App Refresh made 100% sense to us. And so we were able to deploy App Refresh in our ED. And that's a picture of our ED, and that's kind of like the back of that other building that I just showed you here in Cincinnati. So this is our main big campus. That's like on the other side of what I showed originally. And over to the, I'm going to use this if I can. This is like our research arm, and this is where a lot of our Macs are used. But further down the street, we got other main campuses. And I thought that we had enough main campuses. We have another campus up north. We call it our Liberty campus. And then not only do we have support up north, but then we decided to open up outpatient sites further north in Ohio and into northern Kentucky. And this meant more iPads, not for entertainment, but we use Epic Welcome for registration. So a lot of iPads are being deployed to these areas in northern Kentucky, Centerville, and Crestview Hills. So the funniest thing, I just showed you the research buildings here at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. We had this building, it's like 14 stories. We call it our S&T building. I thought these buildings was enough to do enough research, and I thought we would be fine and we can go on and save more babies. We decided to open up another facility right down the street from our other facilities, where we just announced another research building that's going to be able to operate as an outpatient and an adult overnight study. I would just say wow to that. Even though I showed off the recent expansions, let's take a look here. Cincinnati Children's has 18,000 plus employees. We have 720 total registered beds. We have 80 plus locations. That's 10 million square footage. And we're serving patients and families in over all 50 states and 31 countries. Now, if you didn't know, Cincinnati Children's has been consistently top 5 pediatric hospital in the nation, and we've been very proud of that. Even in my almost 16 years being at Cincinnati Children's, we always look, oh, we're number 3, we will clap. Yes, yes, yes. We're number 2, we will clap. And yes, yes, yes. But now, and I'm going to do something, I want everyone to see this. I do have to pause. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. Do y'all see it? Do y'all see this? Y'all see this? Ow! Number 1. We made it. We're number 1 in the nation. Can we clap one more time? Thank you. And we're super excited about this. So I told CB, y'all may know him as Chris Ball. He's CB to me. I said, I can't do a presentation in that shirt. I must do it in this shirt, right? And it's important that it's not, we're number 1 in the nation, but it really takes us all working together. So let me give you a little bit more recap around, okay, I love Cincinnati. Okay, we got the number 1. Okay, great. So enough about Cincinnati Children's, but we've been a Jamf customer for more than a decade. We have a pretty large Jamf footprint that I've already spoke about. We're using Jamf Cloud. We're now managing 1,900 macOS devices and about 6,000 plus mobile devices, which include iOS, iPadOS, and tvOS. And we're still counting more and more, trust me. As we recently mentioned, along with Jamf Pro, we also fully integrated Healthcare Listener, and we've been JAWA supporters that we're going to talk about here soon for several years now. So as we all know, the Jamf products offer some amazing tools. Tools like pre-stage enrollment, extension attributes, and inventory preload. These tools allow for multiple different workflows. Although we use these at Cincinnati Children's, I want to take a little focus more on the inventory preload. But before I go there, let's talk about what pre-stage offer. Pre-stage offers these options while they look good. Imagine keeping a list of names or naming every device the same. Think of it being in a healthcare environment where you're trying to provide a serial number over the phone to get support. I could just use the MUT. I'm sure everyone around here is familiar with the MUT. But then you can have a CSV that kind of looks like that. Great. I can make sure that I manually do it monthly, bi-weekly, daily, but that involves humans and potential human error. I can use the inventory preload. It's built into Jamf, but then I get that same kind of CSV file that I don't like, and I can accidentally type a character wrong, and then I got the wrong information on the device. According to Jamf, the inventory preload is the setting that allows you to upload the computer and mobile device inventory data before the devices are enrolled. I'm not going to go further, but that's exactly from the Jamf admin guide. So what does this look like for us? At Cincinnati Children's, user makes the purchase through our procurement vendor. From there, the procurement vendor submits it to Apple for DEP, goes to Jamf Pro for Jamf management. From there, the procurement vendor physically places an asset tag on a device, just like this. Once the procurement vendor gets it, they notify our team, hey, Cincinnati Children's, this device was purchased, this is the asset tag, this is the serial number, and then what we do, my team does, we take that information and we put it into what? The inventory preload. So when this device comes online, we know exactly what it is, we know exactly what happens. So similarly to the late Tina Turner, she said something like this: what's love got to do with it? Well, I say, what's the name got to do with it? Not as much as, so M for us is mobile. D is device. For 21 for us, that the asset tag you saw, that's the fiscal year that it was purchased for us. So for us, we understand it's truly more than just a tag. So how many people have seen a screen like this before? Hello, my name is iPad. Our desire at Cincinnati Children is envisioning, what if we had a device enrolled in Jamf Pro, could see an enrollment event, read its asset tag field because it came from the preload, and write to the name of the device that is the asset tag field. Enter JAWA. For greater detail, I would like to introduce CB. As I said, you may call him Chris Ball. He will take you on a deeper dive on understanding how all of this is capable and customizable to your organization or industry. Chris, CB.
Thank you. I love how, I put on an extra shirt to come up here, and he takes one off when he gets on stage. We complement each other really well. Okay, so we're going to take a deeper dive into this specific workflow. I'm going to get a little geeky. We're going to actually see some code, and we'll talk about all the tech that you can have in place to make this work for you. At the end, we will have a QR code for resources, so don't feel the need to take a whole bunch of notes. You can take a picture of it later. So let's take a look at a different view of that device workflow. We're going to look at it from the technical side. Walter was showing the hands-on and administrative side. But from the perspective of the iPad or iPhone, we have a device. It's been purchased. It is going to go through an enrollment process Walter mentioned automated device enrollment with Apple, by far the best way to do your enrollment. And we're actually, in this workflow, we're using webhooks, which are a developer tool that's available in Jamf Pro. We'll talk more about webhooks in a second, but I guess the summary is these are events about, this is information about events that are occurring within your Jamf Pro environment, and they can be sent somewhere. In this workflow, we are actually sending it to a tool called JAWA that's open source and free, available on GitHub. I have more links here at the end. And JAWA is designed to run automations. It can catch webhooks and run a script based on what it received. We can also do timed automations with it. So once the device is enrolled and that enrollment event is sent to JAWA, there is no step 3. The device is just named. So let's take a look. First, we're going to talk about the enrollment webhook itself. And if you haven't explored webhooks, once again, we'll have QR codes at the end. But there are a lot of different kinds of events in Jamf. This is going to be the first event that an actual device kicks off. So it is enrolled. The information that you get, this is actually directly from our developer portal. This is the schema, what you can expect the information to kind of look like. We'll see a real example of a webhook event in just a second. So after enrollment, that's when our automation kicks in. We're using JAWA to kick it off, and we're actually using a set of Python, actually one script written in Python in order to handle it all. I was able to summarize the entire workflow in just 4 or 5 lines here within the main method. You have 4 major things that happen. We have a webhook handler function or method. That simply catches the webhook and makes sure that it is a valid piece of data. We have another method that is getting the event information out of it. We have a summary of the event that's going to include, we'll see this in a second, but it's going to include some device information and some other information that's important. We have a get asset tag method. Secret is we're actually using the asset tag field in this workflow where we're seeding the name and that value, but we do not get that value from the webhook. So we have to make a callback to Jamf Pro using our API, and that's what this method is for. And then after we have gathered all the event information, gotten that extra piece of information from the asset tag, we're going to set the name. And I had builds for this, I completely forgot. Here are the methods and their names. I got one more to get through. Okay, so this is the webhook handler, just to give you an idea of what we're doing. Just simply catching it. The way that JAWA works is whenever a webhook is received, we take the event body, which is the message that that Jamf Pro sent, and we're going to pass it to a script as part of the first argument. So we're going to make sure that we did receive the event. We're going to load it up into JSON, which Python plays nicely with, and that's actually the end of that method. Very simple. The event itself is going to look more like this. Now, I showed you the schema before. This is the real world data as it comes in. You can see some actually useful data off the bat. I redacted my serial number, so good luck, y'all. But you get like IP address. You can get the current name of the device. So if you want to make sure that we don't rename it if it already has the right name, you have a lot of information at your fingertips that gets sent immediately when the event occurs. So the get event info method, I think, is one of the more interesting ones. It's pretty simple again, but we do have a lot of information that we want to gather from the event. So we have that big body of information that we saw on the slide before. Now we go through and we just tease those data points out, and we're going to save them in variables that we are going to use later in the script. Things like the serial number, room, that may or may not come into play in your specific workflow. We had reasons to add them into ours, and even the Jamf time that we're passing. You can have robust logging of when devices enrolled and when we had named it. So this get asset tag method, here's where we're actually doing something a little more unique. And once again, this is a simplified version. If you go to GitHub later, we'll have tokenized auth and all of those good things that you want. But just so it's easier to read and understand, we're making a quick call to Jamf Pro's API. We got the device ID from the webhook, so we know what device enrolled. We know that the API has the information we need, so we make a quick, simple call to make sure that there is an asset tag value, and if there is, we will proceed. You'll see in all these examples too, we have a lot of caveats where, oh, we didn't have a value, or we're in a certain scenario where we don't need the device. So you have plenty of areas where the workflow can bail out automatically if it needs to. I must have double-clicked, apologies. Okay, the setName method. We're once again using the classic API to perform this action, and the classic API has a really easy, what we call a URI to make this happen. We have the mobile device commands. We have a subset or we can just specify the actual command that we want to call if we just do /command and then the name. We're going to provide the name as part of the URI, which I think is kind of neat. And then at the very end, we're going to say which device we're going to affect using the JSS ID. So a note on JAWA. This is the free and open source tool that we're using to run this workflow. What we have to do, once we have our script ready and written, we go into JAWA to create the Jamf Pro webhook. Where JAWA can help is it will create all the relics that you need in Jamf Pro in order to send this event to this receiver. It does all of that work for you. It will create the webhook. If you want basic or custom authentication using the API token, you just enter it into the form here. It will do all the work on the Jamf Pro side to get that created for you. We'll also upload our automation script through JAWA. If you need to make changes to the script, you can just go to this web page and re-upload it there. And then after that is set, I mean, a lot of it is sitting back and relaxing and enjoying your devices being named. There is another feature of JAWA that could be used for device names. Walter and I had talked about this. We haven't implemented it yet, but JAWA has this concept of timed automations. And to give you inside baseball, it uses cron tab, which is built into Unix systems, deprecated on macOS, but very much still there. And it uses cron tab to schedule events. So we could have a similar script that's not event-based, but it's time-based. And we're going to look and see of all our devices that are in a certain category, if the device name doesn't match the asset tag, rename that device. So a lot of automation potential available in this utility. I encourage you to take a look. There are some other utilities. You might already have AWS Lambda. There's an Azure equivalent. There's Zapier as well. And last thing about JAWA is if you want to just keep a track of scripts that have run, all the logging information gets contained into one place. And you can actually just download the log file and see historically how many devices were named and what they were named to. So end result, device is named. And the beauty of this workflow is that the end user doesn't have to be aware of any of it. In fact, why should they be? I don't even know the name of my phone right now, but it's important to admins. So we get the device named, nobody notices that we did anything, and hello, my name is no longer iPad, it's MD2100638. So with that, I'm gonna pass back to Walter so he can recap some of the value adds, and then we'll bring you home.
Awesome. Thanks, CB. So we really understood, and like I said, for the years of me working at Cincinnati Children, that device name was always important, not just to the person with the device, but more so from the support desk. A lot of times they would call into the service desk and they would say, well, what's your asset tag? Well, if I go to the device and my device is named iPhone, or if my device is named iPad, then from a support standpoint, I can't look up your device. Well, give me your serial number. Imagine riffing off those serial numbers. Did you say F? Did you say H? That would be a disaster. So something like this has been very, very beneficial to us at Cincinnati Children's. Now, I do want to say that I have been very, very surprised with how quickly JAWA moves sometimes. And so, as me and CB were building this and testing it, we kept seeing the device was being named what we wanted it to be named, but immediately it went back to iPad. And I'm like, what the heck? Chris was like, shaking his head. The rest of his hair was just leaving it, I guess.
It's falling out.
Hey, I'm right there with you.
Man.
But we realized that if you notice at the beginning, I showed a pre-stage. And in that pre-stage, you're allowed to name it a list of names, serial number, or the model, or what the device is. So we turned that off for a second. And what we realized that JAWA was moving so much faster that it was naming the device even before the pre-stage set the device name was actually doing it. So yeah, it's been a breath of fresh air for us, and from our support staff, we're happy that all of our devices can be assigned accordingly as what we do in our hospital. So very, very excited about it.
Thank you. So as promised, I do have a set of QR codes to show you. Now, if you choose, bring your phones out. First, this will take you to a repo that actually has the code that I showed you today. As I watch this space for changes, I'm going to go through and make some enhancements like changing the basic auth to token-based and just make a few more streamlines in. But this is actually a subdirectory of a repo that's going to contain a lot of JAWA workflows. So if you're interested in JAWA and maybe not necessarily device naming, once again, watch this space for changes. We expect to see more and more added in. These QR codes will take you to 3 different places. We have JAWA on the left. That's our marketplace listing for the open source app. It's a good home base for it. We expect GitHub, it will stay there forever as well. The center QR code, by the way, the dinosaurs are awesome. Love Chrome for that. But the center QR code will take you to our developer portal where we have references specifically for webhooks. So if you're interested in what kinds of events can we key off of, what the schema will be for those events, that center resource will be your bread and butter. And last but not least, if you're new to working with the API, or if you're not and you're just like me and you just have to check the references all the time, Dev Portal, once again, has awesome API references. It will let you know what you need to do in order to interact with the API, what you can expect the response to be, etc. And if you would like to know more about automations and webhooks, we do, and specifically with JAWA, we do have another session that I'm actually doing tomorrow with a gentleman named Lee. And we're going to go more into detail about some of the automation workflows that you can build. This is going to be more of a proof of concept kind of session, but we'll also have some code to share with you at the end. So with that, thank you very much for listening. A little shorter session. Hopefully we have enough time for everyone's Q&A. Thank you.
Good job.
Awesome. We definitely have some Q&A coming in here. If you've upvoted some, I'll kind of start with the ones that have the upvotes, and we'll kind of take it from there. Firstly, are JAWA names able to be enforced so that if a user changes the name, it will default back to the desired schema and name that was set?
That is possible, yes. There's another API call that we'd have to make to mark the name as enforced. It's not part of the set name call, I don't believe. So you'd have to make 2 separate calls to the API to make it happen. Very much possible.
And that second API call, like that's kind of similar to that checkbox that you would see if you were editing the device info in the GUI. Okay.
Exactly. I think it's a Boolean value, so you're just saying the value is true.
It's true. Yeah, true.
Cool. Are there any reports that JAWA might be able to send if a specific device keeps having the name changed?
Absolutely. So this is a great question because JAWA's open-ended design, like it's a kind of a bring your own code design. What you do with it is entirely up to you. If you need reports when a device is recurring, like it's setting this name too frequently, all we would need to do is keep track of a record of when we're actually setting the name. So we could write a simple log file. You could have a database, whatever works for you. And then you could even have an action that occurs maybe with the timed automations in JAWA, where you're viewing this log file if you determine that this device has seeming to have some problems, then you could open a ticket or send out a report if you need to.
Can JAWA also be used to apply this naming workflow to computers as well?
Kind of. So with computers, we have scripting on the device, and a lot of times you're going to want to set the name via a script. But if you have a target name in place, you can absolutely put the name in the device record. I think that we can do that same trick with enforcing the names once we have that set as well. So yes, but that might not be the way you want to do it.
Cool. I think this is for Walter here. Can you speak more about asset tag assignment process? Is this a process where someone else is assigning each device to a specific user? And what are the steps that they take to do this?
So the asset tag comes from the vendor. So we partner with the vendor to say when someone purchases a device, give it an asset tag, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's no uniqueness to why someone got MD21 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
That answers the question.
And so like if a device was named based off of that, is that name, at least in your environment, a pretty permanent thing versus related to who's using it?
That asset tag is for the life of the device.
Okay.
So I keyed on MD being mobile device, and then the number, like this year's MD24 for the fiscal year 24. So then when we know how old is this device, we know that this device was purchased in fiscal year 24.
Awesome. I've got a question that is more of a feature request, but maybe I'll jump on it and at least explain why it is what it is today. The question is, why doesn't Jamf make $asset tag as an available variable in the device name config? They have the variable available for other places. And that is true. That variable is useful in any config profile, managed app config as well. But it's more of an order of operations thing. Say, for example, if you used inventory preload and you put a serial number, asset tag value, that naming action is based off of the pre-stage enrollment, which occurs before the first inventory update. And it's that inventory update that is when inventory preload reloads itself and refreshes. So basically it's a timing process, and it's a great feature request. I don't argue with that. Question, is it possible to use other Jamf fields like department or group membership to determine the device name?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we just happened to pick asset tag because that's what was appropriate for Walter's environment. I'm not going to roll us back like 10 slides, but when we're getting the asset tag info, that one method for get asset tag, rename that to something else if you're not getting the asset tag, and double check the API references to figure out where in the schema that specific data point you're after is. We can use any other data point in Jamf.
Cool. And I know there's a few things coming up here, but I think we're near the end of the Q&A. But for people, if they're not versed in scripting and things like that, are there repositories of common things that people can use as templates?
We do have a few different repos out there, people that have built JAWA workflows and leaving them for examples for others. My goal is to take the repo the first QR code that we showed, is to continue to build that out. I've worked on probably 24 different workflows myself, so I've got a ton on my computer to share. I just need to go ahead and get it cleaned up and ready to share with y'all. But yeah, just search Jamf JAWA on Google or your favorite search engine. You're going to find a few different repos. You'll probably see the actual JAWA repo up top.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, again. For everyone attending in the audience virtually, if they want to follow up with other questions or things as well, where should they find you guys?
Don't find us.
Don't find us, we'll find you. No, yeah, send a webhook event to me and I'll get back to you. No, you can find me on Mac Admin Slack. Just search for Ball, the Mega Man icon. That will be me. You can also just type the word JAWA in almost any channel and I'll come find you, I promise. And for Walter?
So I'm on Mac Admin as well. I'm iDobbins, and I'm on LinkedIn as well, Walter Dobbins, if you want to reach out to me.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Another round of applause. Thanks.